All right, guys, the other day we were talking about PEDs. We were talking about PEDs in MMA. We were crediting how few of them there are, that the culture has very much changed, but we still see it. What do you do? When I tell you that a Chael Sonnen eye test is 100%, I say that with absolutely no exaggeration. It is 100%. And just to give you any kind of a spoiler alert, like, this isn't a former user that's turned advocate. There's not like a point in this video where I start naming names or I even start giving you enough information that you could reasonably connect dots. I've read plenty of comments with plenty of guesses, and they're light years off. I got every word that's coming out of my mouth very well rehearsed. I am not going to get jammed up here, but that's not what I want to do. I'm not attempting to get a whole bunch of people caught. I'm attempting to have a very meaningful conversation on how is this happening, because you've only got one real operating theory, which is the guys that are doing it keep their mouths shut. Okay, that's it. They got their gimmick down. But to watch it as prevalent as it is in two specific locations. We have 5 guys in the entire sport that are doing it. 5. Except for the 2 locations. It's all of them. It's very rare. So they're just all really good. They're just all really trained. It's just purely a coincidence. They're solid performers. They're the next Ed Norton. They found their wrong industry. Maybe, most likely, in fairness, sure. But it's not the only. I mean, the best way to pull off a work, and we've seen it in Pride. The Pride organization, which put on fake fights. Those athletes are enraged when I make that comment. How dare I? And those athletes, after they won, boy, they jumped up and they celebrated. It sure looked authentic. It sure looked authentic with their coaches, and they gave post-fight interview. I mean, it was like one of these things we go, oh, that guy's a really good performer. Well, no, not so fast. The best way to pull off a work is you don't tell the guy that you're working. So the way they did it in Pride, and the reason those celebrations look so real, and the reason that those guys today have a problem that I would question their work and their accomplishments, they didn't know. In Pride, it wasn't like WWE, right? Vince or the booker doesn't come in the locker room and sit both guys down and work it out. In Pride, they only paid a visit with a bag full of money to one locker room, and that was the guy that was going down. So the other guy didn't know. It's very relevant. It's very relevant when you're trying to put your finger on, God, it still looks authentic. Okay, this guy's a fantastic performer. They never told him. I bring that to you because I do wonder about it as it pertains to our sport. Is it guys that got the script down? Or do they not know? And as wild as that might seem, guys, this has been tested. Now, the evidence is out there and you can go look it up. I'm not going to spell it out for you completely. Because while I'm trying to have a meaningful conversation about this, one of the other things that will happen is somebody will use that the other way. I'll smarten them up. It's very real. Like, the substances that are being used are always going to be called into question because you do have chemistry and you do have new substances, right? I mean, that's just the way that works. But moreover, in the bigger problem, like when everything went to 100% clean, we had champions that never won another fight. Ever. To this day. Guys went from shit to out of the organization. We had the incredible shrinking man all over the place. Guys dropping divisions. We had one guy who absolutely never flinched, and as a matter of fact, went the other way. He went up and it was shoved right. It was a joke. And I looked into it. I was so curious. What is he doing, and how is he doing it? And the answer that I was given, and I don't believe it to be true, it's why I will share it with you, was microdosing. I know that you guys have heard that term. I don't believe that to be true. I don't believe for a moment that microdosing would get you that effect. And moreover, I don't believe that microdosing is undetectable, regardless of what you do read online. I have used myself as a personal guinea pig. I don't believe that it's true. But that was still, through my research and doing my absolute best, just a curious guy. Many years ago, just a curious guy. That was still where we left off. If you go Google that and you type that in, a lot of people will hypothesize about that. You'll come across chat rooms, you'll come across Reddit, and some of them are really, really good thinkers, and they will tell you that. But the people that are telling you that, have never been subject specifically to the United States Doping Agency. I don't think it works. My opinion, I don't think it works. The bigger problem, and one of the reasons that I'm going to check my words very carefully, the biggest mistake that was ever done wasn't just the substance. That's always an issue. It was how you take the substance, of which nobody knew until USADA told us. USADA came and made this huge mistake. They thought they were speaking in code and they were smart. They revealed to everybody what the problem was and how to beat the test. Now, you're only going to hear that if you want to hear that. You're only going to find that if you're within that space, but boom, they gave us the clue. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to talk about there is documented other ways to do it where the athlete himself does not know. It's beyond rare. It's beyond rare. Like if you look at what they did in Russia, which were fully, that was the world's worst secret, how that took everybody until 5 years ago. So I used to grow up on that. I was wrestling. Russia won all the world, where they won all the Olympics. We'd hire Russian coaches. I used to tell those, man, Russia sucks. There's nothing special about Russia. Oh, how can you say it was so offensive in the world of Greco and freestyle wrestling? How can you say that? Look at all the medals. And I would tell those coaches back then, you're cheating. Your athletes are all cheating. You don't have some 2-on-1. You don't have some outside duck. You don't have some special gut to a lift. You have steroids. That's why you're winning all of this. That they couldn't believe I was saying it. They were stunned. This was in the late 90s. I had this specific conversation at a weigh-in at the University World Championships in Tokyo, Japan with Coach Anatoly. He had no idea. He thought this was blasphemy. He could not believe that I would say these things about his country. He didn't know. It's one of those things. Best way to keep it secret, you don't tell somebody. It's one of those things. All right. But those athletes didn't have a choice. They got identified by the gun. They got pulled. They got shot in the ass and they cleared the test. That's very different. There have been other athletes that do not know. 2016, Istanbul, Turkey, freestyle wrestler, 66 kilograms. I'm going to be light on the details, but in fairness, this is all out there. I'm not speaking out of school. He lived, and it's very important how you guys understand this. And a number of other countries do that. When the great athletes are identified, and sport and medal count is very important to your government. It's very common that they will do. Those people will be taken from their homes and they will be put in training centers. I used to train in Istanbul, Turkey. So I know this full well. I saw it with my own eyes. I stayed there, and just the way that works, just a building. It's a beautiful building. They're treated very well. Upper floor is where you live, and you will have a number of roommates. There's a number of beds, and you got a little space for your stuff and your clothing. On the second floor is where you will train. That's where the mat room is, and the ropes, and the weights, and the sauna, locker rooms, and the showers, these type things. On the bottom floor, there's classrooms and a kitchen. That is where you will do your schooling, and that is where you will eat all of your meals. If you ever leave, which you are allowed to leave, again, this isn't a prison situation. This is considered fortunate for the people that get this opportunity. But you will leave as a group. You don't have a job. You don't have any money. You don't have a bank account. You're not going out and meeting a guy on the side and getting something in a brown paper bag. And this is all very relevant to the story. It's extremely relevant the way I just laid out the living conditions for you for this, because this guy popped. He said I didn't do it. Now that sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it? There's not a whole lot to talk about in terms of did he do it or not once you have the sample. The testing agency believed him. For some reason, there was something about the way he denied it that they believed. They also couldn't reconcile how what he was doing specifically needed to be taken 3 times a week. First off, how was he getting it? Second, how would he pay? Who would have brought it to him? Moreover, where's he taking it that nobody's seen? He's never alone. And even beyond that, where's he storing it? Well, he's got a bed like everybody else. He's got one dresser. We can go search the thing right now. Where is this stuff that he's taking it? He was rarely taking it. He's taking 3 times a week. It was very fair questions, and they looked into it. And sure enough, he hadn't the foggiest idea. He had no idea. I can tell you exactly how that was done. I got to leave that out because again, some people it'll smart give them weird ideas. I don't want to be part of that. But you had access to them a couple of different ways. One of the ways was food. So when you have the cheating happening at a level outside of the athlete's knowledge. When you have that orchestrated, as much as that sounds like a conspiracy, and it is, it's been done, it's been tested, it's Russia. Russia's been doing it since the 70s when the East German women's swim team brought anabolics to the forefront of the world. They have been doing it. Every single medal that they've ever won at least has a question around it. At least, at minimum, a question. But now that we have identified that it's more than just a conspiracy, that it does, in fact, and has, in fact, happened, it does come on the board. It does remain one of your options of how these guys could swear to God up and down and sideways and be a perfectly honest guy and do it with a performance that you believe. He doesn't know. And there is an extremely specific way to get that substance to and inside of the guy where he would never know. And you don't know who's going to be good and you know who's going to be not. You know who's going to be signed. You got one way to do this and you can't have specials, and it's to do the whole goddamn team. But we have two teams. It is top to bottom, all of them. Any organization, any way that you want to do it. You will have members within those gyms, if you actually go out there and visit them, that have absolutely no competitive hopes in the future. It is their social club, it's their workout, it's their exercise, it's their hobby. It's in their system too. So you do start to begin to look at it, and there is more to it. There's more to the story. I realize I'm leaving you hanging. I'm paying you off from the first time where I completely left you hanging. But if you do go look into the story of the Russian freestyle athlete in 2016, and they cleared him completely, by the way. They had the positive test. He for sure had an advantage. They did not punish him at all. He was able to compete and move forward. He was able to compete and move forward with something in his system that greatly gave him an advantage, but he just had no intent. Nobody knew what to do. This was a kid. He didn't mean anything bad. What do? You heard everybody else in the field. That's true. He has an advantage. That's true. But you didn't take his opportunity away. I mean, it's a very tough spot, but that's how it was ruled. The story's out there. If you're going to look it up, I'm giving you some keywords that you can go look up. But if you found out how the coach got it into his system, which is one thing they never found out. They never found out how they got it into his system. But I know.